Hi everyone, I am Tamara Makabanga. I'm the founder and chief content creator here at Alaking Creatives, and welcome back to our video series on the 50 digital technology solutions that every business needs. And today we are talking all about cloud computing. So let us get right into that first question that you probably have. What is cloud computing? Cloud computing is the delivery of on-demand computing services, from applications to storage to artificial intelligence and processing power, typically over the internet and on a pay-as-you-go basis. So instead of a company actually owning its own IT and computing infrastructure, they can simply rent that service from another company or cloud service provider. So they can rent applications, software, and storage even, and in this way companies can avoid all of that upfront costs involved in creating and owning and even maintaining their own IT infrastructure, and simply pay for what they need when they need it, and having a cloud service provider pretty much do all the hard work. Now, cloud computing can be broken down into three distinct types, and this includes infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. And the third one is actually what Alaking Creators uses, to actually provide the type of marketing services that we do. Okay, so the first one, infrastructure as a service. This refers to the fundamental building blocks of computing that can be rented. So this can be anything from physical to virtual servers, storage, and even networking. And this is a very attractive, service to a lot of companies that want to build applications from the ground up, and they want to control a lot of the elements of that infrastructure. However, it does then require you to have a lot of technical know-how or hire people that do in order to make use of that infrastructure. And then platform as a service. So this includes the storage, networking, and virtual services, but it also includes tools and software that developers need to build applications on top of. And so this can include anything from middleware to database management, operating systems, and even development tools. And then finally, software as a service. So this is basically the delivery of an applications through the use of a service. So this is probably what most people and most businesses use for their cloud computing on a day-to-day basis. And with software as a service, the hardware and operating system is irrelevant to the actual user. So businesses don't care much, and they don't control a lot of the hardware and the operating system as a whole, and they just simply access the service through a web browser or an app. Okay, so let's move on to the three models of cloud computing, and that is public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. A lot of clouds today. Now, public cloud is pretty much your classic cloud computing model, and users are able to access a large amount of computing power over the internet, and this can be done for infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, as well as software as a service. And one of the great benefits for the user is that it is easy to access and easy to use, and the benefit for the actual supplier is the fact that they're able to provide this one service to a large number of customers. Then the private cloud model allows users to benefit from a lot of the advantages found in public cloud, but in addition, users are able to control exactly where their data is being stored. They're able to control the infrastructure and build and design it in the way that they want. And private cloud is used mostly for infrastructure as a service, as well as platform as a service projects. And then finally, you get the hybrid cloud. So this is pretty much what most businesses are using. So they've got some of their projects and their data stored in public cloud. They've got some of the data and products stored in private cloud. And one of the main reasons why most businesses and most users make use of this model is because let's say, for instance, a cloud computing supplier either shuts down, or if you have a data breach or something, they will protect you as a business and as a user, from having all of your data, in that one company and having to move all of your data over to another supplier. So it pretty much, the hybrid model just protects the business and the user from, any sort of disaster occurring. Now, as you know, everything has its own advantages and disadvantages, and some of the advantages of making use of cloud computing services is the fact that you don't have to buy and maintain your own IT infrastructure. So in that way, like, maintenance is always handled by the supplier. That is something that you don't have to worry about as a business. Another thing about making use of cloud computing services is that it cuts back on that learning curve and technical knowledge required to manage certain software. So the supplier will always have all of the knowledge and resources required. So even a small business is able to, that it can't afford to perhaps pay for an entire IT team, they can still make use of that service and still be able to function as a business. And then the last advantage is the fact that cloud computing services enable you to pretty much test out the features that you would require, for your company. And in that way, you're only paying for the services and the cloud computing infrastructure that your business needs to operate. Now, what about the disadvantages? Okay, so the first disadvantage relates especially to the public cloud model. So if you're using like a public cloud infrastructure platform or software, it is possible that other companies, including your direct competitors, are making use of the exact same service, and that takes away that competitive advantage that you could have if you handled everything internally. Another disadvantage is the fact that if you have been operating as a business for several years using your own IT infrastructure, it is complicated and it could be expensive now to transfer all of your data over to a cloud computing service provider. So that whole move is like just takes out a lot, and just might end up just being cheaper just keeping things yourself. Another disadvantage is the fact that the only time that you can access your data is if you have access to an internet connection. If you don't, you are unable to access that data, you're unable to pretty much run your business. So yeah. And finally, I just want to briefly discuss some of the top cloud computing service providers, and there are really just 5 like really big ones out there, and that is Amazon Web Services, so that's the leading one, followed by Microsoft Azure, then Google, then IBM, and then Alibaba. And each of these service providers have their own like features, benefits, and they even target like different core audiences. And like I always say, the provider that you choose for your business will depend on your business objectives. And that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope that you were able to gain a lot of knowledge about cloud computing. And if you require a little more knowledge, I have left a link down in the description for you can follow and you can get more information on what cloud computing is all about. Anyways, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed, please do so right about now. And I'll see you again next time.